don't give a rat's how frustrated she is. The Chicago Sky should suspend her for this. They won't because they're too damn scared of her fans. Reese deserves a hefty fine for publicly disrespecting a coach. I'm gonna be interested to see, will Tyler Marsh actually address this? Will the franchise actually address this? But this is some Bush League lack of respect. This behavior can't happen. It can't happen. Look at that. Slap a keyboard out of the coach's hand. They ought to give you 2 to 5 games for that. Are you kidding me? That is one of the most disrespectful acts I've ever witnessed by a professional athlete towards their coach, one of their coaches. I mean, wow. Wow. What are we doing? Part of her problem is she's got a severe lack of maturity, but she'd go on a blocking spree for anybody that's critical about her.
Angel Reese was intended to serve as the spokesperson for the franchise, the one Chicago could support during a precarious reconstruction. But as of this week, that hope has been shelved. After a heated and widely reported altercation with head coach Tyler Marsh during a nationally televised game, the Chicago Sky have formally suspended her contract. The final score and game statistics weren't the only things that garnered media attention. In front of millions of people, Reese slapped a clipboard clean out of Marsh's hands during a timeout, clearly agitated. Fans were astonished by that one deed, which sparked a social media firestorm and forced her team to react. Reese gave one of her best performances of the season on the court. 22 points, 15 rebounds, and a complete demonstration of her physical prowess. However, after she left the court, none of that mattered. Her actions during that break were the only topic of conversation. 40 minutes of genius were totally eclipsed by one moment of annoyance. The most remarkable aspect is that it wasn't an unplanned outburst. This instance seems to be the beginning of something larger. A slow developing tension that has finally boiled over. Cold stares, sideline remarks, body language, and now this. A few months ago, what appeared to be leadership has begun to take on a completely different appearance. The league wasted no time at all. Chicago declared the following morning that her contract was placed on indefinite leave due to behavior that went against team rules. There was more to the decision than merely penalizing a bad moment. Setting the tone was the goal. The front desk sent out a clear and loud statement. Regardless of how many rebounds a player pulls down, nobody is superior to the team. It was a decision that rocked the WNBA. Supporters were divided. She is passionate, misunderstood, and fed up with being pushed around, according to one half. The other half believed this was expected to happen and that the team had lost control months ago. Here's the problem, though. Reese isn't your typical player. She is among the league's most talked about athletes. She draws attention with each game, press conference, and social media post. The Sky's audience has grown as a result of that attention. However, it has also heightened every error, disagreement, and setback. The season for Chicago hasn't gone as planned. For weeks, frustration has been building in the locker room as the club has battled to create cohesion. Fans are demanding answers, coaches are under pressure, and players are exhausted. Even though Reese's performance was a shining example, the foundation's flaws were still visible. There was more to her slapping the clipboard than simple disdain. It was an exclamation of frustration from a group that was about to disintegrate. Furthermore, that wasn't the first indication of problems. Earlier in the season, there were sideline fights, emotional outbursts, and even public criticism of officials during post-game pressers. Specifically, one comment raised eyebrows. Reese blasted the officiating after a hard defeat to Minnesota, claiming she didn't care if she was punished. While fans might find that degree of emotion appealing, league officials and team executives saw it as yet another warning sign. And now it seems like everything is escalating simultaneously. The locker room appears divided, Reese is suspended, and coach Tyler Marsh is under fire for his actions or inaction. Critics point to recurring events and unclear responsibility as evidence that he has lost control of the squad. The situation is a lose-lose one. Allow your star to continue and lose the respect of the locker room, or suspend her and risk her ruining the remainder of the season. The front desk had to make a decision, and they decided to convey a message. Do not be misled, though. This was about more than one coach or player. This is about a society that appears to be disintegrating right now. Reese is now caught in the midst of the Sky's transformation from a promising team to one beset by issues. There are more questions than answers as this narrative develops. Is this genuinely the breaking point for Reese in Chicago? Will she be viewed by other teams as a burden or as a risk-worthy star? Is there a way out of this at all? Or are we seeing the start of a long-term division? Her contract suspension is a watershed moment for the company as a whole, not just for her. The Sky can no longer act as though nothing is wrong. The leadership lapses, the emotional sideline moments, and the locker room friction. Now everything is in the open. The supporters are observing. The league is observing. Most significantly, Reese is currently at a turning point in her life. How she is remembered will be determined by her next action, either as a player who gave into pressure or as a misunderstood celebrity who triumphed over hardship. This is what is evident. Chicago's drama is far from over. Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky are not the only ones affected by her contract suspension. The whole WNBA is already feeling the impact. What originally appeared to be a breakthrough year is now overshadowed by news reports, conjecture, and inquiries concerning team accountability, leadership, and future. Tyler Marsh is also under suspicion. He is supposed to uphold discipline and set the tone in his role as head coach. However, many people are inquiring as to whether he has lost the locker room following the clipboard incident. In real time, the manner he stood there doing nothing spoke for itself. Silence prevailed instead of an abrupt timeout, benching, or confrontation. Furthermore, in situations that are already stressful, silence can speak louder than words. That's what critics are talking about, because it sends a message when a player, regardless of skill level, denigrates a coach on national television and leaves without apparent repercussions. And that message could simply be that the building's leadership has departed. Reese and the crew have already experienced conflict. There have been obvious arguments, irritated body language, and a feeling that the bond between coaches and players is eroding throughout the season. The most recent event only validated what insiders had been speculating about for weeks. Reese is in the midst of everything, and this crew is functioning on edge. She's leading in rebounding, averaging a double-double, and adding energy every night, statistics that most rookies can only hope for. However, the discussion surrounding her game has been tainted by her emotional outbursts, sideline disputes, and mounting record of fines. Fans hardly ever discuss her basketball these days because of this. Drama rather than supremacy is the main emphasis of the news. And that's a risky change for someone who entered the league with high expectations and a target on her back. It's becoming evident that Reese is carrying the burden of everything behind the scenes. The constant glare, the pressure to perform, and the criticism that seems to get more intense with each game. Even those who support her are beginning to acknowledge it. She appears overburdened. Furthermore, it comes from more than simply the media or fans. There are rumors that the front office has already begun holding private discussions about what lies next. Roster adjustments, trade discussions, and cultural resets. There is no confirmation. However, it's seldom just one instance when a top player is suspended for behavior in the middle of the season. It concerns everything that could yet go wrong as well as everything that came before it. Additionally, a lot of things could go wrong. The chemistry of the team is brittle. The chances of making the playoffs are dwindling. Their most well-known player is no longer on the floor. It's more than just a production loss. There is a leadership void. Whether you liked her or not, Reese was the team's emotional center. That feeling has now been directed within. Reese has not made any official remarks in public. Just silence. No interview, no comment. Some claim it's intelligent.
Give it time.
Avoid being in the spotlight. Some argue that it's a lost chance to demonstrate maturity and accountability. However, the silence is terrible in any case. Fans, however, are more split than ever. Some claim that she is being unfairly judged, that passion should never be penalized, and that she is emotional because she cares. More severe penalties are being demanded by others. They contend that a contract suspension is insufficient, because the players are the first to suffer if the culture is broken. Then there is the press. Every program, podcast, and sports story has adopted a position. Some people are standing up for her. The entire clipboard moment is being examined by others. Other teams are cautiously and silently observing in the background, debating whether to intervene. Because one thing remains the same despite all the craziness. Angel Reese remains a formidable presence. She poses a threat to any opponent on the court. She is a voice, a brand, and a headline off the court. And those characteristics are important in today's league. The ball is now in her court, symbolically as well as literally. Everything depends on how she handles this situation. Will she assume responsibility? Is she going to double down? Will she look elsewhere for a fresh start? Or will she return to Chicago mature, determined, and prepared to disprove everyone? For Reese, the Sky, and the league as a whole, the upcoming weeks will be pivotal. Because everyone is waiting to see what happens when one of the WNBA's most talked about stars abruptly leaves the court. Without a doubt, this circumstance might have been prevented. Stronger leadership, increased support, or improved communication might have all altered the course. However, now that it has occurred, the question is how it ends rather than how it began. Does Reese go back to the court and let her performance speak for itself? Or does this mark the start of a more significant change? A team rebuild, a trade, or a public backlash? This is all we currently know. The contract for Angel Reese has been suspended. The Chicago Sky are in a tempest of their own making, and Tyler Marsh's leadership is coming under siege. The parties concerned will decide what happens next. However, this will be remembered as one of the pivotal events of the season and possibly of Reese's whole career. This won't be the last difficult discussion the WNBA has to have if it hopes to advance, because teams win championships, not celebrities, who draw attention. Furthermore, the Chicago Sky currently appear more like a headline than a team.